Oh, hello, it is I, your boy Gomi, and after a very cruel 2 months, basically, of not the most hype cards, we're back. We're here with some actual heat to start off and kick off the month of July, which actually has 2 pay-per-views. Yes, one to start the month and one to end the month in glorious fashion as well, too. UFC 290 is upon us, and I will say of the 2 July pay-per-views, I personally like 291 a little bit better, but 290 is still stacked. It is still heat. It's going to be Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez for the featherweight championship, and then Moreno versus Pantoja. They listed as 2, technically 3, but regardless, let's take a look at this card first before breaking down the main event. So now, reason why I say I like 291 a little bit better is because 290 is a little more top heavy due to some of the changes and some stuff that they have. But let's look at the card. Kamila Kirk versus Esteban Ribovic. Not too high on either of these guys. I'm going to be leaning towards actually the underdog United States fighter. It's pretty close matchup between those guys. There's both. Neither one's too great, but they're up-and-coming lightweight, so they have a potential being great. Shannon Ross versus Jesus Aguilar. I'm going to be going with actually Shannon Ross, believe it or not. I'm going to be going with the Aussie. I've seen some of his stuff. I believe he fought on a card in one of Volkanovski's older promotions he was into. He's on the same card as him, and he's pretty decent. I like that. Cameron Simon versus Terrence Mitchell. I'm actually on Terrence Mitchell despite him not having a picture. He's pretty solid. He's one of the very few Alaskan MMA fighters, but I've seen some of his fights and I like him. He's pretty decent. Vitor Petrino versus Marcin Prachnio. Oh man, I'm surprised at the odds in this fight. Vitor Petrino looked really good in his UFC debut. He only had 1 fight in the promotion. Marcin Prachnio's had a few fights. Coming off his last fight, despite it being just an absolute beatdown of basically William Knight, and just basically he was just a punching bag essentially. He didn't look all that. Like, he had no finishing aspects for that, which leads me to not want to pick him. So I'm gonna go with Vitor Petrino. Tatsuo Taira versus Edgar Chavez. Tatsuo was on the last week's card or the card before that. He had to end up getting pulled from it, which really sucked because I was really looking forward to him. He was on the Jacksonville card, actually. Yeah. Now he's going up against a short nose replacement. He's going to destroy him. Not even a question. Not even close. Jimmy Crute rematches against Alonzo Menefield. I don't know why they rematched this fight. I really don't know why. I don't want to see it. The last fight they had was just such a sloppy fight that made me believe. I don't even think that did not seem like the caliber of a top-ranked light heavyweight. So, yeah, end up in a draw. We saw pretty much how the first fight went. Alonzo Menefield, I feel he's just going to be the better fighter overall, and I just feel he has a power differential. Just the thing is, he's just so sloppy, and he just made very poor maneuvers. Oh, well. Yasmin Yagu... I've tried, but I cannot get it. I've tried. Versus Denise Gomez, not even a close fight. This is also a fight, like, why did they make this? Yasmin's easily going to win. Well, it was supposed to be Jack Della Maddalena versus Sean Brady. Jack Della Maddalena versus a UFC newcomer. His very first fight in the promotion. He's 7-0. Josiah Harrell. Yeah, no. His last opponent was 9-8, I believe. This guy, he's 7-0 as a can crusher. Jack Della Maddalena is absolute, like, top talent that's going to butt into something even better. I'm glad they kept him on 290, but man, this matchup suffered. I was actually going to break down the JDM versus Sean Brady fight because I thought that was a lot more captivating fight and a great test for Jack Della Maddalena. At this point, it's just a highlight reel for him. Robbie Lawler versus Nico Price, the retirement fight for Robbie Lawler. Man, this guy's been around for a while. If you don't know Robbie Lawler and you're an MMA fan, look up his title reign. His title reign was just some of the best fights of all time. One of the highest rated fights of all time is actually going to be his second fight against Roy McDonald, but his fight against Johnny Hendricks, his fight against Carlos Condit are also amazing. He's gonna probably lose this fight. He's just too old. Like, dial it back 2 years. 2 years, I think Robbie Lawler takes out Nico Price. Current Robbie Lawler, hopefully, I hope he just has some kind of like raw power that awakens within him and he just gets this win for his final fight. But I don't know. Then the main card, I'll be doing full breakdown videos for each of these fights on here. Some of these fights are pretty lopsided, but you might be interested in what I have to say about them. But regardless, let's look at the main event. This is going to be the featherweight title fight between Alexander Volkanovski and Yair Rodriguez, the interim champ. This is a very entertaining matchup. I'm usually not a huge fan of Volkanovski's fights, to be perfectly honest with you. A lot of them end up not as exciting, to be perfectly honest with you, because he's just so much leagues better than most of them. But his last couple fights have been decent against TKZ, and his third fight against Holloway. In fact, actually, his fight against Ortega was pretty good. It's really, I just didn't like the first two Max fights. Yeah, that was it. I just didn't really like the first two Max fights. But oh well, regardless. Volkanovski, 34 years of age, 25 wins, 5 losses, 12 knockouts, 3 submissions, 5'6" in terms of height. God, he's short. Orthodox stance, 71.5-inch reach advantage, a 1.52 takedown average, 59.12% significant strike accuracy, minus 420 favorite. He has significant wins over Max Holloway 3 times, which that alone is, oh my god. Brian Ortega, Chad Mendes, and Jose Aldo. Notice as well, I don't put Brian Ortega in Yair's significant wins because that wasn't even a fight. But Volkanovski did fight him. Yair, standing across from him is going to be the Mexican-born champion, Yair Rodriguez. He's going to be 30 years of age, 16 wins, 3 losses, 6 knockouts, 4 submissions, 5'11" in terms of height, orthodox stance, 71-inch reach disadvantage, a 0.79 takedown average, 51.49% significant strike accuracy, and he's a plus 320 underdog, with significant wins over Josh Emmett, Jeremy Stephens, and the Korean Zombie, who Volkanovski also has a win over, but I prefer putting his win of Chad Mendes over TKZ. At that point that Volkanovski fought him. At that point. So, how does this fight go? Everyone is on Volkanovski. He's a massive favorite. A lot of people think he's going to win this fight, but I don't know. There's that statistic going around of nobody at this age defends the belt except for Tyron Woodley, but I just think Yair Rodriguez is a lot more dangerous of opponent that people are really looking at. Alexander Volkanovski just had a style. He just had Max Holloway's number, and he's a really good game planner. That's his main thing. Volkanovski always has really good game plans. But Yair Rodriguez, it's hard to game plan with him. He's just too explosive and chaotic, and you don't have a lot of current data on him. That's the thing. Volkanovski, it does a really good job of compiling data on these people that he's faced. But why do we not have data on Yair? He took a goddamn 2-year break, came back against Holloway, a completely different fighter, didn't even have a fight against Ortega. That doesn't even count. And then he had that very explosive fight against Josh Emmett, where he just showed a lot of like heart, determination, skills, and he was explosive and chaotic. It is very good. I personally really liked his performance against Josh Emmett, and I like it better than Ilia Topuria because he got the finish. And Emmett's a hard guy to finish. But yeah, you really just have to look off the Rodriguez and Holloway fights. You can't look at the Jeremy Stephens fights because he's a completely different fighter from then. You can't look at the Korean Zombie fight because a guy that Volkanovski easily, handily destroyed was beating the brakes out of him until he got probably one of the craziest last-minute KOs of all time. You have no data on this man. Besides having no data, he's so explosive and chaotic, and that takes away one of Volkanovski's main traits. His great game planning. He doesn't have what he needs to analyze this guy. Is he going to come out with a submission-heavy game? Well, yeah, he's got Craig Jones in his corner helping him out. Is he going to come out with a crazy Taekwondo game? Well, he could get Izzy, or I think he recruited Blood Diamond. Izzy's basically punching bag. But yeah, he has different ways, really good sparring partners, and he has a really good game overall in terms of sparring and how he like trains for camps. All that's good, talented, great fighter, and tough and durable. Only knocked out once in his entire career at welterweight. I don't see Yair knocking him out, but I don't see him winning on points. But just part of me feels like Yair could get this done. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, just because of the explosive kicking game, and I don't like how Volkanovski leans. He does the same kind of lean that Kamaru Usman does, where he could get clipped and knocked out, boom, headshot, dead. But enough of like that just shows you how leagues ahead of Volkanovski is in this division, because starting this out, I'm just talking about how Volkanovski could slip up. I'm talking about how he could slip up. How could he win? He has so many avenues. I could see him knocking out Yair. Yair has some very poor head movement when he gets in actual like engagements. He has good head movement when he's being kind of like calm and brainy, but when he gets in like exchanges and firefights, which he will occasionally do, he can get clipped pretty easily. That's one thing I will say. That's something to be wary of for Yair. But the thing is, too, even if Yair's too tanky and he's too durable, because he was very durable and he had a great gas tank against Max Holloway, lasting to the end despite taking a lot of punishment damage. We could see Volkanovski out-piecing him up and jabbing him out, because Volkanovski outstruck Max Holloway. Max Holloway was... he actually did have to resort to wrestling in Yair, which Alexander Volkanovski could do. I feel the most likely thing for this is Volkanovski on points. That's the most likely thing. But if Yair really makes it a dogfight, he might be able to make something happen, or Volkanovski could take him out. Volkanovski, as we know, has got a big right hand. Doesn't have a lot of power to it, but it's able to damage people. He's very good with shifting combinations. He has really good head movement, very good darting in and out of the firefight. It's just being shorter and having a lean with those kicks can be a problem, but he's extremely durable. I don't see him submitting him either, because we saw Brian Ortega is one of the best submission guys at featherweight, and he had him in his signature triangle choke, and he had him in a guillotine. Mounted guillotine, both arms locked in. Volkanovski did not tap. That's the thing. If Yair does get some crazy submission, Volkanovski will simply just not tap, and either you have to pray Yair has the muscles to keep that submission hold for an extended period of time to be able to choke him unconscious, which is going to take longer than the average guy, or he's going to burn his arms out. Volkanovski's going to get on top, get mad, and rain hell down upon him. It's a very interesting matchup. Despite people having him such a high favorite, it's an interesting matchup. I feel the main thing you want to assess how this goes, the key is Max. The key is Max, and look how both guys fought against Max, and that Volkanovski was able to beat Max 3 times. I stand by it to this very day that the second fight, I think Max won. It was a robbery. The first fight, I actually kind of think it was closer, and people people look back now and say, oh no, Volkanovski destroyed him, had no chance. I think it was a lot closer, because I remember back when I saw it, I was voting as a split decision. It was unanimous decision, right? Yeah, unanimous decision. I thought it should have been split, to be honest with you. Regardless, the third fight tells all, because the third fight, definitively Volkanovski domination of Max Holloway. Not even close. It was a massacre. God, I thought the fight was going to get stopped, but just Holloway's just invincible. He cannot die. Yair lost to him. Yair lost to Max, and it was through grappling. What that does tell me is that Yair was dangerous enough a striker to make Max lean on his grappling game, which he never really uses. I don't know. It's a hard fight to call, a lot harder than people are thinking. But of course, I'm going to be leaning towards the champ, Alexander Volkanovski. But you bet your ass that I'm going to put some money on Yair, and I think he has a chance. I definitely think he has a chance, and I just think it'd shake up the division a little bit more. But regardless, let me know how you think it's going. I'm sure most of you are going to say Volkanovski, but go ahead, be vocal in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear it. Well, this has been your boy Gomi. Be sure to look forward to the rest of the fights I'll be breaking down. Bye-bye.